So I don't know if you guys know this, I've probably mentioned this before, but I don't like horror movies. They're just not really my thing. You know, I don't like gore, and I especially hate jump scares. And I think the main reason I don't like jump scares is I've never really seen a good one. Because most of a horror movie is me sitting there with extreme anxiety waiting for that said jump scare. Then when it happens, I'm extremely underwhelmed, and then I'm just very disappointed. And let's be real, there's a lot of terrible horror movies. That's just like a genre that is filled with garbage. And when I was younger, I happened to see a lot of these horror movies because my sister enjoyed horror movies a lot. And one of those terrible horror movies that I witnessed when I was younger was none other than The Happening. And this just so happens to be an M. Night Shyamalan movie. So I mean, if you haven't seen it before, you could kind of expect how bad it's really gonna be. And this movie is starring none other than Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel. And I'm just gonna say it right now, they gave the worst performance I've ever seen out of either of them.
We're just here to use the bathroom. And we're just gonna leave.
And the reason I remember watching this when I was younger is because the entire time I was watching this movie, I was like sitting there like, oh, well, when's the scary part gonna happen, you know? The whole movie. And it never happened. Everything that's supposed to be unsettling or scary just somehow turns out to just be hilarious. Honestly, out of all the horror movies I've ever seen, this is definitely one of the funniest ones I've seen. I remember the trailer to this movie is like 100 times more terrifying than the actual movie. Or at least I think so, because I remember when I was younger, I saw the trailer before we saw the movie, and I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be scary. And oh boy, it was not. So how the movie starts out is we get a shot of New York, and we zoom in on these two girls chatting. Then all of a sudden, there's a scream in the distance. A horror.
It's weird. Those people look like they're clawing at themselves.
It's one of the first lines in the movie. Ladies and gentlemen, what kind of reaction is that? Those two people over there are clawing at each other. They're ripping each other's eyes out. That's kind of weird. I mean, you don't really see that often. And the next scene is just what I would describe as a flash mob. You know those flash mobs that were popular a few years back, you know, where everyone like got together in a mall and they like froze, or they did a little dance or a musical number? Well, that is literally what happens here. Everyone in the park just stopped moving, except there's a little bit of a catch. Everyone starts walking backwards. Now, this is a top tier flash mob if I've ever seen one. I know this is supposed to be like unsettling and make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it just looks hilarious. Oh yeah, and for some reason, everyone in the park is affected by this except the two blondies on the bench. Oh, wait a second. Nope, her friend is stabbing herself in the throat with a pen. So anyway, we cut to the next scene. We're at a construction site, and dudes just start falling off. You know, it's raining men. I know it's supposed to be scary, people committing suicide, jumping off buildings and stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's just so funny. So while people are randomly dying in New York, we cut to Mark Wahlberg, who is a science teacher named Elliot. So he goes on giving a lecture about an event where bees just kind of disappeared out of nowhere. You know, no one can explain why. And then he talks about how there's certain events in the world that happen that we just can never explain.
Look, I don't know if you guys have heard about this article in the New York Times about honeybees vanishing. All right, let's hear some theories about why this might be happening.
I wonder if this has to do with the random suicides in New York. Nah, it's coincidence. So then we get a zoom in of a very convenient quote put on the blackboard. We get it, M. Night. You basically spoiled the entirety of your own plot within the first 10 minutes. The audience isn't that stupid. And let me tell you something. Throughout this entire movie, he lays everything on so goddamn thick. Like, he treats us like we're 5-year-old kids. So anyway, this is Julian, and he is a math teacher. And for some reason, that's like his only character trait throughout the movie is he likes math.
It's good to be a math teacher sometimes. You know, people are comforted by percentages.
Oh yeah, also he instantly becomes like the worst friend ever. So Elliot is having relationship problems with his wife. And then Julian's like, yeah, bro, I didn't want to tell you, but on your wedding night, your wife was bawling her eyes out because she didn't want to get married. Why did you marry her, bro?
I walked into a waiting room by mistake, and she was crying. She looked up. I saw her face. She wasn't ready to jump in, Elliot. That's not who she is. She's never going to jump in when you need her, man.
Why would you even say that? Oh yeah, I just want to mention, throughout the movie, M. Night like throws these weird relationship issues that Zoe and Elliot have throughout the movie. And it's in the most random times. Like he just throws it in there just out of the blue and it never makes any sense. Oh, another flash mob's happening in Philly. Oh, I wonder if that guy with the guitar is gonna break out in song. That would be fun. So they all get on a train and evacuate due to the mysterious suicide juice that's going around. So the train stops at a random town in the middle of nowhere, and for some reason, Elliot is like the only person who thought, hey, let's go ask the conductors why we stopped. And this is what they had to tell him.
We lost contact.
With whom?
Everyone.
Well, we're in a small town, Jess. Nothing will happen to us here.
Wow, that would really suck if something bad happened to them in this small town. I'm getting really annoyed with this crappy foreshadowing. So they all went to this little diner. They're all sitting down eating dinner. And then all of a sudden, this old lady's like, hey, I know you guys are a little bit scared and you got a little kid right there. Watch this video of this guy letting tigers rip off both of his arms.
Look at this.
Oh, golly gee, would you, oh my goodness. You need to watch this video. I mean, sure, it's the most traumatizing thing I've seen my entire life, but let me tell you, it's a good watch. Then the power shuts off. Why? Did he just throw in a power shutting off just for spooky effect? The suicide juice can just shut off power now, I guess. Then this random guy stands up. He's like, yo, 90 miles away, it isn't happening. So we should drive away from the disease.
Whatever this is, it looks like it's not occurring about 90 miles from here. Let's go.
This is what I'm talking about with M. Night, like making his audience seem like an idiot. You don't need to lay that out for everyone. We could just understand that people are going to evacuate and leave. You don't need one guy to stand up and just announce to everyone what they're gonna do next. So anyway, everyone's starting to leave, and this is where Julian leaves Jess behind because he wants to search for his wife, because his wife did not get on the first train. She was gonna get on the next train. And you wanna know why his wife didn't get on the train with him? It's because she wanted to go get her daughter a birthday present.
She was looking for a birthday present for Jess, some kind of dollhouse. That's why she wasn't with us.
We are in the middle of mass suicide, disease all over the place. Now's a good time to not stick with my family. Let's go get my daughter a dollhouse. So since Julian is in fact a math teacher, he ends up throwing Elliot some random ass percentages.
Hey, you want me to throw some figures and percentages at you so we both feel better?
Okay, throw me some numbers.
62% chance. 62% chance he hasn't even been hit.
62%. It's 62% chance my wife's alive. Guaranteed. So Julian leaves to find his wife. Elliot and the gang go to this guy's house to get some supplies. So this stranger right here, I just want to mention, I consider him the best character in the entire movie. So he walks in on them looking at their plants and he's like, hey, let me tell you about hot dogs.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap. They got a cool shape, they got protein. You like hot dogs, right?
God damn it, I love this man. Oh yeah, also, he just pulls a theory out of his ass and says that he knows why all of this is happening. He thinks that the plants are doing it. And his reasoning? Plants produce chemicals.
It's the plants. They can release chemicals.
So I guess he's just like a crazy man with stupid conspiracies, because let's be real, there is no possible way this movie would be about plants getting mad at humans and then making chemicals to make them kill themselves. Because that would just be, dear God, that's what this movie is about, isn't it?
The revolution has begun.
Dear merciful God in heaven, oh no, it's a plant! It's a plant with a gun! Stop what you're doing! Why are you watching this video? Run! Please don't shoot me, sentient plant, please! Oh yeah, then the hot dog guy starts talking to his plants.
Okay, babies, we are gonna be going, but we will be back soon, okay?
I love this man. I feel like now is a good time to mention that throughout this film, there are, okay, let's be real, they're not so subtle shots of people like hurting the environment, hurting plants, or other stuff like that. Like when we first stopped at the hot dog people's house, you see just a giant nuclear power plant with 2 smokestacks in the background, like environment. You know, they're doing bad to the environment. 1,000 subtle shots don't make it subtle anymore. So we go back to Julian, and wow, that's a whole lot of people hanging from trees. I don't know, I wonder if now would be a good time to turn around. Like, you think the people hanging from trees was like a good sign that maybe we shouldn't be here. So there happens to be a little cut on the ceiling of this Jeep. So, you know, the plant suicide juice is slurping its way inside. So the car stops, and then they just floor it straight into a tree. It's funny because everyone flies out of the front window except Julian. He's the only one wearing the seatbelt, I guess. So he just walks out of the car, sits on the pavement, grabs a piece of glass, and just starts just going at his wrist. This movie is just a masterpiece of nonsense. So Elliot and the gang are driving down a country road, and then boom, 20 bodies are just like piled up. So anyway, they turn around and go the other way. Oh my God, what are you doing? You just drove all over the grass. You know that's just gonna piss off the plants, man. What are you doing?
Oh, it's the army. We're safe.
Well, yes, the single guy in an army uniform will protect you from the plant suicide juice, of course. Why does everyone do that in like horror movies? Oh, it's the army, we're safe. So this army guy was telling him that he was actually driving away from his facility because he actually lost contact and then saw some dead bodies in the barbed wire. Then hot dog guy tells him, yo, we just saw 20 dead bodies back. And this is his response.
This town about 8 miles behind us. There were bodies on the road into town.
Cheese and crackers.
But really, there's no way. There's no way this wasn't being ironic. Come on. And then out of nowhere, Elliot notices a missed call from Joey.
Who's Joey?
And this is what I was talking about, where he just like throws it in. There's no rhyme or reason or good timing or anything. He just like, oh, here's an empty spot. Let's just throw in a little bit of marital problems. So this next scene was basically made to just say, hey, Julian's dead, by the way, because everyone's gathered around this lady who's calling her daughter in Princeton, you know, where Julian went to and died. Elliot and Jess have a little cry, and then in 2 seconds, they're over him. We never speak about it again. Julian's character was basically useless. So the army guy tells everyone to find a location where there's not many people, because I guess they're starting to piece together that if you're in big groups, then you die.
They're attacking populations. We need to go where there aren't that many people.
For the next entirety of the movie, they reiterate this 1,000 times. Don't be in big groups. I don't know why they reiterated 1,000 times, but they do.
Could be releasing the chemical into the air when there's too many of us together. What's the size of the groups? We need to go to the least populated place we can to be safe. Can't stay here. It's close to the roads. More and more people will come here. There's too many of them together.
So everyone starts walking on the grass, and then out of nowhere, Alma tells Elliot that she went out for dessert with a guy named Joey. But honestly, Elliot's reaction is just, it's delicious.
There was this guy, Joey.
You lied to me?
Oh man, you cheated on me. Golly gee, this sucks, man. So yeah, then the army guy just starts going utterly insane. The hot dog family, the army guy, they all just start shooting themselves.
Oh no.
I don't know.
Do they know what movie they're in? Do they know what they're reacting to? This is like the same reaction I give whenever I forget my wallet when I'm going to McDonald's. I forgot my wallet. We can't get nuggies. So after they're done killing themselves, Elliot's like, yo, what if it really is plants, duh? And then once again, we reiterate the point, we need to be in the smaller groups.
Something in this field could be releasing the chemical into the air when there's too many of us together.
And then the funniest thing happens. He tells everyone to stay ahead of the wind.
Let's just stay ahead of the wind. Here it comes!
What do you mean, here it comes? The wind? Does he really think he's running ahead of the wind? And then next comes the most legendary scene of all time. Mark Wahlberg just talking to a fake plant.
Just going to talk in a very positive manner, giving off good vibes. We're just here to use the bathroom.
I'm pretty sure they kind of meant for this to be a little bit funny, but I think they wanted to make it like, oh, just to show how utterly crazy this is, he's talking to a plant. But it just turns out to be hilarious. So then again, there's another funny death scene of a group of people. This guy turns on a lawnmower, lays in front of it, and then the lawnmower just rolls over him. Which I would just like to say, lawnmowers have a fail-safe. You need to be on it to drive it. This isn't realistic. There's these two kids that are with Elliot and his family. We can only assume that their families are dead. because they're by themselves. But anyway, they're in the movie for a brief moment, and M. Night like tried to squeeze like this little scene in there of making them talk to Elliot about his relationship, just so the audience could form some relationship with them, but obviously it doesn't work out because they literally die in the next scene. Like, why would you throw in characters for like 2 scenes, try to build them in your movie, and then off them in 2 seconds? Not only that, but this man gives them to the count of 3 to get off their porch.
You got the 3 to get off our porch!
Bruh, you think that would have been better to tell to the children? So anyway, we cut to the news at a random person's house because once again, M. Night thinks all of his viewers are just complete idiots. And there's a scientist saying, oh, well, by my standards, it seems like this virus will disappear in a day.
The event should be at its most sensitive tomorrow morning. It could end suddenly, at any moment.
What is my logic here? Nothing. Movie logic. That's my goddamn logic. So Elliot and the gang stumble upon an abandoned house with an old lady living there, and this whole part of the movie is M. Night just trying to like shove another horror movie inside of a horror movie of a creepy old lady at a house who like kills people or something. That's basically what it feels like. This woman knows nothing about the plant juice and is just insanely creepy and aggressive.
I suppose the kind thing for me to do is to offer you supper. I ain't gonna ask you again.
So she invites them in for supper and randomly tells them there's a shed in the back that they used to hide slaves, and there is this talking tube between it and the house.
There's a spring house in the back. It has a speaking tube running under the ground to the main house.
This foreshadowing is so ungodly terrible, and this next scene is just so good.
Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No.
Murder? No. I would never murder you. What? That was like the most sarcastic response I've ever heard, and he was trying to be serious. So Elliot goes downstairs the next morning to talk to the crazy lady and then just sees a gigantic doll in her bed. Man, he really just pulled like horror words out of a hat. Creepy doll. Let's just throw that in there randomly. So the lady goes insane, starts yelling at Elliot, tells him to leave, goes outside, starts praying, and then the suicide juice gets to her. So while the old lady went insane, apparently Jess and Alma were in the slave hiding room with the talking hole. They have this really long, sappy thing where like they're talking between the tube.
Elliot.
Yeah.
It's just making sure you're there.
And then he's like, bro, I don't care if I die. I'm going out and I want to see my girl before I die. So they all walk outside. And they're fine. They're fine. The virus disappeared. It's gone, baby. And then at the end of the movie, basically there's this scientist being like, yo, this was an act of nature. We'll never fully understand it.
This was an act of nature, and we'll never fully understand it.
You know, basically what Elliot was saying in the very beginning of the movie. Oh yeah, and in the future, Elliot and Alma get pregnant together, and then they adopt Jess as their child. And then the movie ends on a cliffhanger, because the same thing that happened in New York happens in France. I got chills, shivers down my spine. So yeah, this movie was utter garbage, and boy, I loved every second of it. But anyway, I definitely recommend watching this movie just for fun. If you just like really bad horror movies, this is definitely one that's fun to watch. But thank you everyone for watching this video. If you liked it, please like the video. If you subscribed it, please subscribe to the video. If you didn't like it, please don't do anything, because it hurts my feelings. Okay, bye. I love you. Okay, that's all I need, I think. We'll see.